All right, looks like we got everybody going here. Let's get these other Facebook groups joining us before we're officially here for Broncos for Breakfast Thursday morning, 11:11. Boom. Oh, one of them had an error.
Is it
Let's see.
11/11?
Uh, it's
It
yeah,
is
November.
11/11.
And it's also Happy Veterans Day to everybody in here, everybody who served. I wanted to make sure to say that right off the gate. We'll make sure to give you guys another shout out before we get on out of here because we know it takes a second for the stream to breathe a little bit. But wanted to start off Happy Veterans Day to everybody out there who served, no matter how you served or where you served or what branch. We appreciate you and welcome in, Scott. Good morning. Happy Veterans Day to you.
Yeah, good morning. Been fortunate enough to not have to serve.
Yeah.
Both of my granddads were in World War II, and they were on one on each side on the Pacific side, and then one on the beaches, not on Normandy, but not far from there,
Yeah.
going in. And they made it so that none of their children had to go to war, and none of their children's children had to go to war. So thank you very much to all of you that have helped us provide for all the things that we now complain about. Thank you.
Football Sunday.
All these things that really don't matter in the grand scheme of things that everybody complains about. They don't know what tough is. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a little bit of that in my family as well. My great grandfather was a POW for a while in World War I, captured by the Germans. He was a messenger. He actually lied about his age. He joined the military at 16.
My granddad did the same thing. He memorized the eye chart because he couldn't pass it, so he memorized it and went in. He's like RLNOP, you're good. And he was 16 also.
Yep, not great. I mean, I guess bless him for doing that. But the other one is my grandpa. My grandpa was a doctor in a MASH unit in Korea. So thank everybody for the veterans out there. And Andrew comes in and says it very well. Good morning. Thank you to all the veterans out there. Words cannot express my gratitude. I'm going to co-op that, our gratitude. Thank you for the words there, Andrew. And shout out to you guys. This is obviously Broncos for Breakfast. Good morning, everybody. It is 6:32 where I'm at. That means it's 7:32 where most of you are at. And it's 9:32 Eastern time for Scott there, drinking probably his third cup of coffee today because he's been working since this morning. You guys can follow us on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you're on Facebook today, make sure you're joining us if you're not already at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Become a supporter. Also join us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Anything we say in here that piques your interest or you disagree with or you really agree with, add us. I'm active on Facebook, more active on Twitter, but you guys can follow us on there. We can continue that conversation because I will use any excuse I can to talk more football. Also, YouTube people, make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Smash that like button.
What do you mean by YouTube people?
Yeah, the older people, down the conspiracy theory
videos. Let's walk the line there, Nick. Come on.
You got to be careful.
Whenever I hear you people, I immediately go to Tropic Thunder and Robert Downey Jr. What do you mean, you people? What do you mean, you people? That movie's hilarious. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. I can never get Tom Cruise dancing as a fat man.
Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise was gone with his craziness. That brought Tom Cruise back. That role brought him back into the mainstream. It was great. Anyway,
100%. Yeah, subscribe, like, and share. Hit the bell notifications. That way you know when we go live. Scott and I are live on here every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday at 7:30 Mountain Time. We have a show every single night at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. No, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Depending on if some people are on time or not, but you never know. Either way, we got a show every night, so make sure you're joining us on YouTube. Also, make sure you're following us at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Scott's been working on that channel. I know we got the draft coming up here. I know he's going to be excited about all the offensive tackles that are going to be in this class, so we'll get some good videos up, I'm sure, at some point. And Scott and I have been talking a lot of Falcons and football in general on Wednesday on a show, so join us there as well.
And it's nice. There's good crossover here because the Falcons played the Philadelphia Eagles in week 1. They play the Dallas Cowboys this week. Denver plays the Eagles. There's a lot of crossover there with the NFC East. And Ethan coming in. We'll never forget your service, coming in with a symbolic 11-11 tribute. And Ethan, I don't know if you do evenings. You are still number 1 on top of the YouTube list. So start thinking about what jersey you might want to get because it's dealer's choice.
Yeah.
You get to pick which jersey you want. I'd go throwback for sure. I might get an old Mecklenburg or something like that, or an Atwater
Gorgeous.
if it was me.
Gorgeous. Oh, Atwater for sure. I know you guys joined me here a few times, but I've been covering the Broncos for a bit, and I always would go to the combine, and I would seek out Atwater. He's easy to see. He is an absolute unit still, like chiseled from marble. Just incredible, and also the nicest guy. I mean, he talked to me an hour multiple times. I've been to the combine to cover it. So Atwater, heart of gold, great player, Bronco Hall of Famer. Peter Middleton coming in here saying we sure have some injuries at tackle. Hope they're be good enough to win. So hopefully the Broncos backups at tackle are good enough to win. I guess that can help us get right into this here, and we can come back to the chat here, and I'll let Scott come over the chat and make sure that we're not missing anybody or anybody wants to highlight. But yeah, Gary Leeds Palmer, thank you. Happy Veterans Day all, as Gary says. The Broncos have 9 players that did not practice yesterday because of injuries, and including 6 starters. So let's get to it. Patrick Surtain has the knee injury. Garrett Bowles and Bobby Massey have ankle injuries. Tim Patrick has a knee injury. Malik Reed has the hip. Shelby Harris has an illness, which is not related to what's going on in the world, a different illness. Alberto Cuebanam is also hurt with a knee, or just held out with a knee injury. Caden Stearns with a shoulder. And McTelvin Najim, they don't say what McTelvin Najim has with an injury, but he's been inactive a lot of games this year, so hopefully you won't miss him too much. The Eagles are also pretty dinged up. Darius Slay's dinged up. Josh Sweat, one of probably their best pass rusher. I think he's like number 6 this year in pass rush win rate, so he's actually a really good pass rusher there. Florida State player. And the other one is Fletcher Cox comes to mind as well. So they're dealing with some injuries, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So should be a pretty good game. I think this Eagles team is much better than their 3-6 record. And I think they're closer. I'd almost put them in the same tier as the Broncos. Maybe the Broncos are a little bit better because they have better personnel defensively. But this is a better Eagles team than I think 3-6 looks on the surface.
Yeah, for sure. And Javon Hargrave is another one of those. Lane Johnson's been dinged up too. So that front four, I mean, in my opinion, when healthy, this will be the best trench team that you will have faced so far with the Denver Broncos. I think they're really good on the offensive line. They're really good on the defensive line, but they don't have the depth that the Denver Broncos do. And we want to talk about the tackles that are banged up. It couldn't, you never want injuries, but it really couldn't have come in a better fashion for the Denver Broncos, knowing that you could get those guys some live reps. It didn't happen in practice. These guys aren't getting their first snaps together in a game on Sunday. They played most of the second half together against the Dallas Cowboys and played very, very well. So there will be some cohesion. There will be some confidence going in, and there won't be that steep learning curve of getting thrown to the wolves against what is a very, very good, when healthy, Philadelphia defensive front.
Yeah, they are very good, especially against the pass. However, watching them recently, I was not impressed at all with their run defense in that defensive front as well. Hargrave has been, like you said, incredible against the pass.
That's the thing is I go, whenever I watch Hargrave, he's like the best player on the field. It's just about 3 times so far this year. And I go and I look at his grade. I'm like, I go to Pro Football Focus and he's mid-tier at best. I'm like, maybe it's just one of those guys that flashes when you happen to watch him, which puts an impression on you. You talk good about him, but he's really not all that good. We all have players like that, where the national media or other teams' fans are like, oh, man, that man's a beast. And you're like, you don't watch him 16 games, man. You can have him. So I don't know if he's like that, but I do know when he flashes in a big way and can be very dangerous on his day, as they like to say over in the UK. On his day, he's a player.
Yeah, and looking at his Pro Football Focus grade, they really talk about a dichotomy of skill set and what he does well. He is their 3rd lowest graded run defender, along with Hassan Ridgeway is right down there with him with a 33.2 run defense grade. However, his pass rush grade, elite, 88.3. I mean, bumping his head there with some of the best in the entire game as far as pass rush grade. So really somebody who, with the Broncos, the way they want to play football, maybe you can neutralize him a bit, get some body blows on him with that defensive line. Maybe Quinn Meinerz can ride him down a little bit, and you can lean into Javonte Williams. I saw that Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave have not missed a tackle yet this season. That's more of a linebacker stat, but still, it could be interesting there. And really, the Broncos with the 3 new starters on the offensive line, or 3 backups playing on the offensive line, This is a game where how do you protect your quarterback? How do you protect your offensive line? You do what you did last week. You get each of these running backs at least 15 carries. You run the ball efficiently, so that way you're not behind the sticks and force you to pass and go right at them. And I mean, I really think it is that simple. If the Broncos can run the ball effectively in this game, they should win the game. I mean, that's the formula.
Good morning, Travis. Appreciate the stars. Appreciate you being here. Says, good morning, Nick Scott, Broncos country. A big thank you and Mile High Salute to all our men and women who served, who is serving and will be serving our country. Happy Veterans Day. Absolutely. Continue to run the ball versus the Eagles. Yeah, and you could just copy and paste that and just change the mascot every week, because that's who the Denver Broncos should be. Continue to run the ball versus whoever, Chargers, Raiders, Chiefs. I don't care. Run the ball. Yeah. Y'all have heard me say several times, and Nick has heard me say it a bunch now because we're on this all the time together, that, I was lamenting the use of, it's not that Javonte Williams, was, why isn't he getting more carries than Melvin Gordon? I was like, why aren't they getting more carries, period? When they're getting 10 each, I don't need 2 running backs. When they're getting 40 touches each, now I'm pretty happy. Now I'm real happy with this. And I've heard other coaches talk about the second half of the season is almost like a college season. So with a 17-game season, you play 3 or 4 and kind of bed in your rookies a little slower, and then you've got an 11 or 12-game season to go. That's a college season. So now this is what these rookies are used to, their bodies are used to. The wear and tear on them, that's what they're used to. Now it's almost like a preseason for them. Now is it time that we can turn loose a rookie like Javonte Williams? And I think we saw the start of that last week where he got 17 carries. If he gets 20 touches a game here on out, Broncos country is going to be pretty happy with how Javonte Williams is used.
Yeah, and we talked about this on Tuesday morning as well. Javonte Williams is incredible in his good plays, but so boom or bust right now that it's really hard for this Broncos offense to overcome when he has one of his run stuffs or tackles behind the line of scrimmage. Now, of course, you've heard me say it on here. Yeah, the run game is as predicated on the blockers more so than the running back. So I put most of that blame on the offensive line, but Javonte Williams gets some issues for that as well. So he's got to become more consistent there. But once he does, man, he is so explosive. He really is a tone setter. I know some people roll their eyes at that. Some analytics people roll their eyes at tone setting, but he is. I mean, he brings an energy, and he is. I love what you said in the past about a boxer with the body blows. That can be what Javonte Williams could be for your offense. And against this team, that Josh Sweat is hurt. Ryan Kerrigan used to be a great player, but he's kind of he's definitely on the downward trend. Fletcher Cox isn't what he used to be. Javon Hargrave, both of them better against the pass than the run. And this Eagles linebacking core, you think Javonte Williams was making the Cowboys linebackers with 2 top 20 picks looking a little foolish out there. Not foolish, but, dragging them down, looking good.
Yeah, looking like they were outmatched.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about outmatched, though. This Eagles linebacking core, absolutely terrible, absolutely dreadful. Jannard Avery, not great. TJ Edwards, Alex Singleton. I mean, they're on paper. I mean, you're talking about the Broncos playing 2 guys that weren't even getting the snaps on this team, 4 weeks ago. And I would take Kenny Young and Baron Browning 2 times over what these linebackers are putting out on the field right now at the linebacker position. So if the Broncos can even dictate them, get them in the box, I think even if you even if you have an overloaded box, you should still run the ball, because I have that little respect for this Eagles linebacking core.
Well, and what's nice is if you can, some of those biggest runs come on 3rd and short, 4th and inches types. If you get an overloaded box, if you can break containment, then you've got something. And Nick, you've heard me say a bunch, take this out of context, and I'm going to sound like a moron, but speed can be overrated. If you can get a guy that can break through that first line of attack and break a tackle, a 4.6 guy is going to get 60 yards before people can change directions and catch him. That's just the way it is. You get burned on a screen pass. You get Micah Parsons, who's running the 4.3s. If he bites on a screen, by the time he turns around to try and catch the running back that just deked him, he's gone. It's too late. Doesn't matter if that's a 4.3 or 4.6. That's a 40-yard play. So Javonte Williams' ability to break a tackle, and if you're going to stack the box, okay, you know what else that means if I'm stacking the box? It means I got Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and Jerry Jeudy in single coverage. Okay, I like that. can Teddy Bridgewater, throw the deep ball? Anybody, any quarterback in the NFL can do a 3-step drop and chuck the ball 50 yards in the air and to get behind the guy. And just and against single coverage, just put it up and see if your guy can make a play. Even if it's incomplete, you put that in their mind. So stacking the box to stop the run with all of the weapons coming back, with Jeudy back out there. Okwuegbunam is stepping up a little bit. Use Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams in the passing game. Stacking the box shouldn't be an effective way to stop this team.
No, it shouldn't. And again, it's protecting your offensive line, letting them get a feel for the game, and really also letting them work on some chemistry, right? That's something this team, while they had reps last week, Cameron Fleming and Quinn Meinerz haven't had many live bullets together on the right side. Cam Anderson and Dalton Risner haven't had many chances to work together on the left side, and going at it in the ground game. Really, just talking with offensive line coaches, it's so unnatural for a 300+ pound person to be moving backwards, balanced against somebody who, quite frankly, is a typically far superior athlete on the other side of the ball. So letting those offensive linemen go forward, dictate, be the aggressor out of their stance, explode forward, that helps them. And then you get those, if you can really start getting a push, the linebackers start coming down, the safeties start biting, and that's when you can hit them over the top. So I want them to punch them in the mouth early. The only caveat I will say, one of my favorite things, and if you can hit it, it's beautiful, that the Eagles know you're going to want to run the ball. If you can hit them on a play action on that first play and get a chunk yard on that very first play of the game, oh man, then Mile High's roaring and excited to go.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if you're able to get a guy on play action on the first play, but maybe the first play of another drive.
Yeah,
after a turnover, something like that. But again, if you see 8 in the box, yeah, I'll throw one up and give Sutton or Patrick a chance on the outside. Low risk, high reward type of play. For sure. Ethan coming in again, another symbolic 33, the number 33 with Glasgow out. The belly starting should indicate more focus on the running game, especially with Javonte Williams. So everybody in here should know who these people are. But in case you're watching, because we actually get a lot of on-demand watches after the fact on Broncos for Breakfast, the belly obviously is Quinn Meinerz, 3rd-round draft pick, very powerful run-blocking, want to go forward offensive guard who looks like he's going to be starting. I don't know if that's been announced, but looks like he's going to be starting at right guard. And then Pookie, number 33, Javonte Williams, the 2nd-round pick, who the Broncos traded up to take out of the University of North Carolina. And how about that the Tar Heels last year with that offense? Because, I've seen Michael Carter, I think he's with the Jets. So, they got 2 NFL backs.
And they also had an NFL wide receiver, Dwayne Brown.
Year. So a lot of talent, a lot of talent in Chapel Hill last year.
Yeah, and this is not going to be the best video quality, but I really do want to show this one here real quick because this is absolutely beautiful. I know a lot of people talk about the angry runs and how beautiful it is with the somebody like, let me see, is it full screen? Not the best quality, but for me, it's the offensive line. Quinn Meinerz here, right guard. Hopefully you can see my cursor where I'm highlighting him here. This is the big Javonte Williams run, but look at how many Cowboys Quinn Meinerz touches here. Pulls. There's one. There's two. There's 3. Still hanging on the number 2. There's 4. There's 5. Oh, and Javonte Curse is dead. Yep. He's looking at him on the ground. I know it. A tone setter. I hate it so much to say that, but Quinn Meinerz, I mean, what a bad man. And those are things that eventually wear you down and makes it easier. And then in the 4th quarter, the gaps are going to be bigger. And we have not had
a King Kong Bundy splash.
Yeah.
Bundy was even bigger than that, but I don't know if you know who King Kong Bundy is. I know several people in this chat know who King Kong Bundy is, but that looked like a Bundy splash running down there. Oh, that was you laugh. It's not funny, but it's funny. It's not funny for the guy that's getting splashed out there, but you've heard me say a zillion times about the lack of the tight end and the fullback and my dismay that it disappeared. The fullback position has disappeared. The tight end has come back. Seeing big, powerful athletes get loose in the secondary is fun. It's fun. And it gets everybody going again. You watch, 230 pounds of Javonte Williams dragging guys and 330 pounds of Meinerz coming down and splashing guys, or big tight ends as they're just dragging guys down the field or running over them. It fires everybody up. And that's something that you cannot account for in a box score.
Nope.
We talk about tone setting. It's the stuff that absolutely will not and does not show up in a box score. But by God, when it happens,
Yep, and that's the formula. Dating way back to week 1, Shermer, you need to be almost stubborn about the run game and stick with it. And it was hard for the Broncos to do that somewhat. And maybe I'm a Shermer apologist somewhat because I feel like he tends to get more out of his quarterbacks than what the quarterback's career baseline is. I mean, he did that with Case Keenum. He's done that with a number of quarterbacks, did that with Daniel Jones. And now he's doing it with Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is on his way to having the best statistical year of his career. With Shermer in this offense, I don't think he's the best sequencer of plays, but I don't think the scheme itself is bad. And something I want him to do, though, is stick with the ground game. And that means the Broncos, hopefully they come out hot, right? Like that's what we saw against Dallas. And if the Broncos can come out with a lead, everything works. But this is not a team that's built to play from behind, given their style of defense. They're very much they're a closed fist, and they want the defense to run it, or the opposing offense to run into them, right? They're not bringing it to you. They say, okay, come at us, and you're going to make a mistake eventually. I hear you that closed fist analogy for the Hawkeyes. They run the same kind of match quarters defense. And then also the offense is not really fast-paced, explosive, putting it all on the quarterback drop back. It wants to be a team that slows the game down, physicality, play in a phone booth, and bludgeon you to death. And we saw that against the Cowboys. Man, that high-flying, pretty boy Dallas Cowboys team got bludgeoned to death. They're still a little bit bloody from that one. So hopefully we'll see that, and hopefully the Broncos can come out quickly and not give up an opening drive touchdown, because I feel like in each of those 4 games, the Broncos were down already by 7+ points in that first quarter in the games they lost this year. It's just you can't do it.
And Jeremy says, I love it when the guy's name describes the guy perfectly. Who's tougher than a guy named Meinerz? And which kicker do you want less than a guy named Blewett? We could come up with a lot of these. I think my favorite, there was a Thane Gash was a safety for the Cleveland Browns. I think that might have been my all-time back in the 80s. That might have been my scariest name. But Michael Stonebreaker, defensive tackle for nose guard for Notre Dame way back when. There's lots of those guys that are just a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, USC's quarterback. Dick Butkus,
wants to get hit by a guy named Dick Butkus?
Not me. Personally, not me. The USC has a freshman quarterback named Jackson Dart, which is a great name for a quarterback.
Nice.
We'll be talking about him in the draft in a few years. He looks pretty good. We got Ernie in the house. Good to see you, Ernie. Hello, Broncos for breakfast, or hello, breakfast people. That's us. Hey, breakfast people. Go Broncos. Hopefully everyone's enjoying their coffee. Hopefully everybody in here is having a great time. I love this. There was a stat in here about how good where is it? So how good Justin Herbert was last week against the Eagles. He had an amazing game. Justin Herbert's been a little bit up and down, but man, this Eagles defense, I have very little respect for their defensive coordinator, Gannon. I don't think he's calling a very good defense. Now, granted, they're missing a lot of talent in that back 7. This is a team, the Eagles, they should be very blessed to have, 10 picks that are right now in the top, or 3 picks in the top 10 of this upcoming draft. They need it. But Broncos should be able to have one of their better offensive games. And if they're not doing well offensively in this game, something went wrong. Because it means that you either got killed up front by the Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox, or you are mis-executing bad penalties, drops, and bad decisions.
A lot of the plays I saw early in the first half that Herbert was having success with are throws that flat out Teddy can't make. Unfortunately, the 20-yard deep out from an opposite hash on a line, that was 12 to 15. He went both sides of that play in the first quarter on their touchdown drive, and I'm like, that's nice, but that's not something you can count on from Teddy Bridgewater. So again, you're going to have to be able to run the ball in order, because there aren't. And to be fair, I mean, that's the play. Can you at least make a 15-yard out? Can you throw it consistently? That's an NFL throw. Some guys throw it better than others, and some can run that 20, 25 yards on a deep out. And Herbert's one of those guys. It changes everything for your offense when you can drive a guy back like that an extra 3 or 4 steps than normal, and as soon as that cornerback flips his hips, it's an easy 15 yards. I say easy, but not all the quarterbacks can make that throw. That's not a throw Teddy makes. That's not a knock on him. That's just not who he is.
There's maybe only like 10 quarterbacks in the league that can make that throw consistently. And
with that kind of velocity, for sure. Now Teddy would have to be an anticipatory throw
Mhm.
where, he's got the ball like Peyton used to. The
Yep.
ball's in the air before he makes his cut, and you're hoping the defensive back isn't cheating, with
Yep.
his eyes in the backfield, and he's got his eyes on the receiver. If he's
Yep.
cheating, you're in trouble on that throw.
Yeah, and a fun stat so far this season that stats don't mean that much with this small of a data size, but it's still fun to say. Broncos are undefeated with Jerry Jeudy playing this season, and I think we talked about it when this Broncos team was struggling. You need guys who can win on grass for the scheme to work and for Teddy Bridgewater to work because he's not that general accuracy throw it up guy so much. He can be, but it's more of a calculated vertical shot. And with Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton, they're great, but they're not really those guys who can get open instantly from the slot, win the middle of the field game, win the horizontal game like Jerry Jeudy. And when you run as much 11 personnel as the Broncos, you have to have that guy to keep the offense moving and to make the defense account for somebody like that in the quick game. And with Jerry Jeudy, even though he's 85%, you'd say maybe 80%, he's having a hard time cutting off that. When I watched the All-22, not a lot of in-breaking routes from that left leg where he hurt it. I think it's left leg, yeah, or his left ankle. Those
That's
are
part
ones.
of the leg. I'll give you that one.
Yeah, yep. But he changes the offense. Exactly, it's what Shermer wants. He wants separators. Jerry Jeudy's the only real one that you have right now in that quick game. So with the 11 personnel, it should be great. It should be better. And I'm excited to see what Teddy can do from an efficiency standpoint in this game. But you're right. I mean, we look at the stats. Teddy Bridgewater is like top 10, top 15 in a lot of metrics this year. That's great. He's playing good ball. I wouldn't put him as a top 10 quarterback. It's a lot of he's maximizing the talent around him, which is great. That's all you can ask for from him. And that should be good enough with a good defense and the run game the Broncos have.
What's the and Ben's in here throwing some numbers on some guys right here, asking some questions. Ben says, what would Teddy be worth if he finishes the way he's gone, which is going to be a solid 12 to 15 season? The key to this, Ben, and you mentioned Tannehill, is what's a phrase we heard them both say this week? Don't fall for the cheese. Don't get stuck in the trap.
Yep.
Arthur Smith in that scheme made Tannehill, not the other way around. Not the other way around. So don't overpay a guy. Don't overpay a scheme quarterback. Don't overpay a guy that benefits from your scheme. Broncos fans know that as well as anyone with running backs coming out. They didn't overpay those guys. Terrell Davis was amazing. We'll go get a former Marine. Happy Veterans Day. I don't remember his name, but it was Mike something. Who was the guy that came in after Terrell Davis ran for 1,800 yards?
Mike Anderson?
Maybe, but I just remember he was a former Marine, came in. You're churning through these guys. Tannehill is not a top 5 to 10 quarterback. There was no reason to pay him like one, and now he's going to hurt your team. Even if Teddy Bridgewater finishes as a top 10 quarterback this year, statistically, he's not a top 10 quarterback in reality.
No.
So don't pay him like one. Don't hurt your team like that. Don't financially strap yourself like that. And y'all know I'm a fan of Teddy Bridgewater. I am. I'm also a fan of knowing your own limitations. Don't overpay at the quarterback position because then it's going to cost you in other places, and now your team's not as good. You mention Andy Dalton all the time, which is a very good example of that, Nick.
Yeah, and that's one reason that this Broncos team is able to do what they're doing right now. Teddy Bridgewater, that's one reason his stats are as good as they are right now. I think he's like, when you don't account for garbage time, I think he's a number 3 or 4 quarterback in the NFL in EP. Actually, I think he's number 2 in EPA per play / CPOE composite, which is pretty outstanding. But he's not the same caliber quarterback as the other guys that are around him. He's not able to. You're not putting the game on his back. You're down 14, and we're going to completely go to a drop back passing game and throw it 45 times, and you're going to win. That's just not him. That's not who he's going to be, and you shouldn't pay him as such. So, but still, he's the right quarterback for this Broncos team right now. He's maximizing what they can do on offense right now. And I mean, if you can get him for, let's say, $15 million a year for 3 years, I'm interested. You think that's high, but that's not. Like, the quarterbacks are getting crazy money. I mean, Cortland Sutton, they're saying, is going to get $18 million a year. Like, imagine your quarterback getting less than your wide receiver at the same time they hit the market. So I could see him getting, maybe even $20 million a year. At that point, I'm a little bit scared. But
a little bit. No, you don't do that. Unless you make a run and you're close. And Teddy, if right now, based on the body of work that we've seen through 8-9 games, no, don't don't strap yourself to Teddy Bridgewater. Go back to what we said at the very beginning.
Yeah.
When Teddy Bridgewater was signed. Good morning, Michael. Appreciate you being here. Before that scrolls out of you, Teddy Bridgewater is a stopgap until you get your quarterback of the future. That's who Teddy is. We knew that going in. As good as he's playing now, he's not that far off from a 4-game losing streak either. Let's remember. I don't want to get like I said, I'm a Teddy Bridgewater fan, but I don't want people getting too high on Teddy. I don't want people getting too low on Teddy. Teddy's right in the middle. That's what you got. You know that. Now what can you build around him and what decisions you need to make?
Yeah.
So, if you go, if it's not a big signing bonus and a big cap hit and you go, 3 years, 40, and in the third year you can cut him and it costs you 5. Okay. That's one thing, but it shouldn't stop you from going and trying to get your quarterback in the draft this year or trying to go get a guy this year. That's all I'm saying is don't make it so that you are stuck with Bridgewater for 2 or 3 years. You don't want that.
No, I agree with you completely. I think I would be willing to overpay him from an average per year vantage point to give yourself flexibility to get out after 1 or 2 seasons. And CC,
right.
I think
you're going to want him you might want him for 1 year for sure. You might even want him for maybe 2 as you go get a guy like Malik Willis in the draft who could fall into the teens and needs a year. And what better mentor could you possibly have than Teddy Bridgewater to bring along a young quarterback like that? Would be awesome. It'd be like getting a second coach. That's where part of your money's going. Teddy, we love you. Go win some games, but this guy's the future, and that's the league. It's the business.
Yeah, and we CC. The nail on the head here. I agree. Fitzpatrick getting $10 million, Dalton 10.5, Foles $8 million. That was also in a season where a lot of teams were cap strapped because the cap actually reduced. So I think with the bump this season, these numbers would be even higher. All these quarterbacks got paid in a year where the cap reduced for the first time in like 20 years. So Teddy's set up for 15 to 20 million bucks per season. I don't think it's that debatable. I agree with CC here. It's very scary to think about paying him long term. I would not do that. But if you can give yourself, him a 2-year, $35 million contract where that second year is, you only eat $3 million dead cap or something.
Oh, well, that's a 1-year deal.
Essentially that's what most deals, when you look at them, they really are one less.
Remember who you're talking to here. I look at Falcons contracts and everybody carries huge dead caps.
Yeah.
It's like, we're only paying him 20. What's his dead cap number? 80. Jesus.
Yeah. Poison pills, baby, all the time in those contracts. We got Robert Katzo coming in. What's up, Broncos Maniacs? It'll be interesting, though. And that's you make a great point about Teddy Bridgewater being a bridge to a new quarterback. And I think that's especially true for this upcoming quarterback class. There's only one quarterback in this class that I feel good about getting reps year one. And last year we had quarterbacks who had a lot of starts and a lot more physical gifts, and they've been struggling so far this season for the most part. This next upcoming quarterback class, not nearly as physically gifted. So they're going to have to rely more on their mental ability, which is slower to develop than the physical gifts, which are there day one. The only one I think that could play day one and I'd feel okay about is Kenny Pickett, but he's going to be 24 years old. He's got hands that are barely over 8 inches. He has he's got, my hands are almost as big as his, and the NFL ball is bigger than the college ball. He does.
My 12-year-old's got hands bigger than that. His hands are as big as mine, and I can palm a basketball.
Yeah, I know a lot of people roll their eyes, but the NFL ball is bigger than the college ball. You're going to be playing more late games in the season where the weather is going to be a factor and the ball is going to be harder when it gets cold. I know at least he plays in Pittsburgh where they have to deal with bad weather on the ACC side, but it's definitely a concern. It's going to knock him. He's also I think he's a 6-year senior because of what happened with players getting an extra year of eligibility, and he's had a lot of starts and he wasn't even good until this year. So I'm not the biggest Kenny Pickett guy. Some of his tape this year is phenomenal. If you can take a shot, in the top 50, I don't know.
Yeah, you go round. Second and third round. Okay.
Yeah, okay. For sure.
And Keith comes in here and says Bridgewater himself doubled down on keeping focus and grinding this out. The thing we said at the beginning, Teddy Bridgewater is an easy guy to root for. He's an easy person to root for. He's an amazing professional, a hell of a leader. You're going to get everything he's got. That might not be good enough, and you may want somebody else, but don't take that on Teddy. Teddy is an amazing pro, just a pleasure to have on your team. So don't let any of the thing. I'm just trying to be realistic here
Yeah, totally.
in
No, absolutely.
saying, that of who he is, where the Broncos want to be, where he is, health, age, ability, that a lot of the things you're able to do as Denver Broncos right now are because, and the things you want to do are because you're not paying a quarterback.
Yep.
You
100%.
put a $20 million quarterback on the salary cap, and all of a sudden your flexibility goes away. Is Teddy that guy? Maybe he is.
I think that I got this from Daniel Jeremiah, who works for NFL Network, and spoken with him a few times too, covering different things. Actually went down to Drew Lock's pro day at Missouri and talked to him down there. But the one that sticks out to me is the truck versus the trailer debate, where the truck pulls everybody along. He is the engine, and the trailer is being pulled along by the truck, but can navigate it. And Teddy, he's a guy who, when you have weapons around him, a good offensive line, a good run game, he can be a maestro. He can be Rajon Rondo, facilitating an offense. But he is not the offense himself, and you should not pay him as such, because once he gets that big cap hit, to your point, those things around him start to go away, and he has to shoulder more of that load. And that's when things get a little scary for me. I just don't know if he is that guy. But yeah, it's enjoy it right now, I guess. He's playing a great quarterback, and the Broncos are in a position they haven't been in a while. I mean, they're a top 13 offense, be it by DVOA. And when you look at advanced statistics, they're actually considered a good passing team, which is the first time since 2014 that's been the case in Denver. So I think we need to enjoy it while we can.
No, I'm repeating myself a lot, but it seems like people forget, based on emotions and recency bias, people forget, what did we say what we were going to get from Teddy Bridgewater this year? The quarterback was going to move up into about the average category, which is a huge leap from awful, where it's been. It's been awful.
Yep.
So moving up to mediocre is a huge leap at the quarterback position. That's what we expected. And we did what we said was, it mightn't be Teddy, it might be Drew, but it's going to be better.
Yep.
Always get better. You improve that much in other areas now. You got what you were expecting at the quarterback position. Hats off to you.
Yeah, and going from let's just call it a D- to a C+ at the quarterback position makes such a bigger difference than like even going from an F to an A at, let's say, left tackle. Like, it's like, imagine like you got a B on your final is going to make a bigger difference than getting an A on like one of those little pop quizzes you have every day. That's kind of the volume or difference you're talking about there.
See, we're talking to the scientist here. Like I said, I used to pick up my syllabus on the first day, get zeros on homework and quizzes, come in and get an A on my final and take my C.
Oh, man, I would have been, speaking of my grandpa would have been very disappointed in me, talking about the veterans there, the urologist. So had to get straight A's. Ben Bunn's coming in here. Ben's always very active in the comment section over on YouTube. He asks, what would you do? Draft a quarterback in the first this year, go after Rodgers, or keep Bridgewater 1 to 2 years and wait until 2023 and stack up for a big move? And who would I keep, Patrick or Sutton? If Patrick is half the price of Sutton, I'm keeping Patrick, but Sutton is a more dynamic player. I saw there was a lot of discourse about Sutton not going off this last game. I watched the All-22. Sutton not going off was by design of the Cowboys. They said, and anybody on this offense is going to beat us but Sutton. I know that Patrick had a lot of digs on him. You know what's even better than having a team's best cornerback on you? Having two guys dictated to you. Having a safety shaded over you constantly. And that's what Sutton had in this game. And he opened up things. And Teddy Bridgewater, unlike some other quarterbacks, Teddy's going to take the open guy. Teddy's not going to force it to a guy constantly because, hey, that's my go guy. I'm just going to force it in there. No, Teddy's going to pick a smarter guy and live in the scheme and throw to the open guy. So Sutton, taken out in this game schematically. Teddy didn't force it to him, and the other guys could eat. That's what you want in football, right? When you have enough weapons, if they say, okay, I'm going to take away this guy, I'm going to kill you with the other ones.
I'm going to look at the overall first. When you get 30 points and 400 yards of offense, I'm not going to criticize, this guy didn't get enough touches. Okay, so what?
Yep.
The overall scheme, you can scheme a guy out. Some guys, depending on who you're playing, some guys are going to get their yards no matter what, but that's what makes them Hall of Famers and stuff. But Ben asked, what would you do? And for me on this one, it becomes an order of preference, because it's not going to be up to you. This isn't like, we can go get this guy or this or this. Which would you rather do? So first, if I had a chance to get Aaron Rodgers, that'd be my first choice. I'd get Aaron Rodgers. I'd want to know what it's going to cost me. Is it going to hamper my team for the future? But, he's still one of the, if not the best quarterback in the league.
Yep.
You put him on your team, and it's a different every game. You have a chance every single game. Even when your defense isn't playing well, when your defense is playing well, you got a Super Bowl quarterback.
Yep.
First round this year, maybe. That also depends on what would Bridgewater want for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so I'd be okay with taking Bridgewater on a 2-year deal, a 3-year deal that's going to pay him 2, that's going to play 2, knowing that I need to get a quarterback over the next 2 years. But as you kick that can farther down the road, what happens after 2 years if there still isn't a quarterback that you can get? You're right back to square one.
Mm-hmm.
So I would most likely, for me, is you're getting a quarterback in this draft, and it might be later down, it might be a little lower down the line, second, third round, and you're going to bring in a veteran quarterback. I say bring in, meaning Bridgewater could still be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Bridgewater makes sense. He absolutely makes sense. Get him a quarterback for the next 2 years. Get him on, like I said, a 3-year deal that pays him 2. Pays him a 2-year deal that pays him 1. But what's he going to ask for? What's he going to want? What's he going to settle for? And who else is shopping? Don't negotiate against yourself. That's one of the worst things you can do is go out there and overpay your own guy because you're afraid to lose him, but you're negotiating against yourself. Oh, we paid him 3 years, 45. Well, his second best offer was 2 for 20. Why'd we double the money? That was stupid. So again, I've got a preference. If I get Aaron Rodgers, that'd be my first preference.
Yeah, my first preference would be Russell Wilson, just because he's younger and you get a more. I'm very much a belief that the best way to win a Super Bowl is to knock on the door multiple times, because in a one and done kind of tournament, anything can happen. So I'd rather extend that window for multiple years. And Russell Wilson is playing. I mean, before he went down, he doesn't quite fit in the minimum throw attempts that other quarterbacks do because he missed time this season, but his efficiency numbers, his air yards, everything like that is off the charts. It's number 1 in the NFL this season. So he was playing incredible football, and I would love to see him in Denver because I don't think that Seahawks team is very good. I live in Seattle. I get to hear about it often. I get to see it. Not very talented in the trenches. They have 2 good wide receivers. Other than that, though, I mean, 2 first-round picks for a box safety. What are we doing? But we got the DWI guys coming in here, $2.22 million. I'd rather go after Matty Ice or other free agents. Not free agents there, Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. I think the first thing I do is I find out about Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. If they're not available or not interested, then I probably move towards Teddy Bridgewater and taking a quarterback in the draft this year in tandem, because I don't think any of these quarterbacks are ready day one. As far as Matt Ryan goes, we talked about it yesterday. If you guys want to check out Scott's channel, Matt Ryan's probably not going anywhere until 2023, given how his contract is set up. And he's playing pretty good football. And I think that you'd be hard pressed to get the Falcons to want to trade him unless you overpaid, given the dead cap and how he's still playing for them.
Yeah, from a financial standpoint, it doesn't make a lot of sense for the Falcons to trade Matt Ryan. Yep. From a competitive standpoint, they're 4-4 in a playoff spot. They're not going to trade Matt Ryan. Nope. So those are 2 things that are going to make him really, either way. If the Falcons are bad, he's going to be hard to get because it's an unbelievable dead cap hit. It's like $60 million. His dead cap number would be, to try and have them eat that. Or actually, they'd be better off sitting him on the bench and having him on the team than trading him because of the dead cap money. So, but yeah, and going back to what Matt is saying here, I get that, but targeting Rodgers, and I'll just stop there. It was part of the question, Matt. I don't think Rodgers is really going to be in play. I think it would cost too much. I think, flat out, I don't know that he'd want to come to Denver. I think it would cost too much. But in my order of preference, playing on a video game, if I could get Aaron Rodgers at a reasonable price, he'd be my first choice. He's the best player out there. So, yeah. I would do that. But it's not going to be a reasonable price. He might not want to come to Denver at all. So let's scratch that one and let's move down the list. That was kind of my point on that one.
Yeah, and this comment, too, he talks about this one, you have a similar drop after 3 years. You know what? I'll take the 3 years. You could be a team like the gosh darn Jets or something, or the Raiders, who have not had a window in, decades kind of thing. So I know that I think the Patriots have somewhat clouded the view of fans somewhat because we want to have a, 15 plus year dynasty. The Steelers are another one, or the Ravens too. Like, those are 3 rare organizations that have had elite quarterbacks or draft and development that is not normal compared to other teams. So if you can get a 3-year window to go after it, do it. I mean, it's hard to get even in the window. So
wouldn't we all like to be the Green Bay Packers where we've had 3 quarterbacks in our life?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. I mean, we'll see 3 starters. A lot of teams will see 3 starters in a month.
Yep. And we got Tommy saying, I'll take Maddie's contract for a 3rd and a 7th. Yeah, you're going to talk about a 1 and like 2 2s and another pick to even get them to answer the phone, because again, they have the dead cap. It stays with the Falcons. So for it to be worth it for them to eat that dead cap, you need to probably overpay to even get them to answer the phone. So I don't think that's happening. Tommy. We should talk. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Yvonne's coming in here real quick saying, good morning. I'll focus on the offseason and signing a free agent that we like and get the missing players and only get a QB if it's Rodgers or Wilson. Out of them, we will be the same as with Teddy. Other than them, I think and you might as well. I don't want to feel like you're saying necessarily settling for Teddy. Teddy's a good option. Where else? Who else is available that is an upgrade that isn't going to just kill your team financially or mortgaging the future that is available out there?
Yep.
Anybody?
I can think of 2 quarterbacks that would be on this upcoming market that maybe some people could talk themselves into over Teddy Bridgewater. Statistically speaking, Teddy's the number 1 guy. But 2 I could see getting bigger contracts would be Jameis Winston, number 1 overall pick, still has the tools and the arm talent.
Teddy.
I probably would rather have Teddy as well. And the other one is Mitchell Trubisky, who we saw with the Bears. I'm just throwing out Teddy. It would depend on what the plan is. I think you're probably more likely to get a plus quarterback long term with Jameis Winston or Mitchell Trubisky than Teddy Bridgewater, given the tools that they have. But Teddy Bridgewater's floor is significantly higher, and also the intangibles. We know Teddy has the intangibles.
And I'm talking about a fully healthy Jameis Winston. Yeah. Jameis Winston's done for at least a year. He had a terrible knee injury, so he's back where Teddy was 4 years ago.
Yep.
And again, Jameis Winston playing for Sean Payton is a different player than Jameis Winston playing for a lesser offense and a lesser system for a lesser organization. Not that Denver is. I'm just saying don't fall into what you've seen recently from Jameis Winston, because that's a Sean Payton quarterback. Remember, there was a guy that went 5-1 or 5-0 for Sean Payton not too long ago. Also, he's suiting up for the Broncos.
Yeah, exactly. And Ivan, I will focus the offseason.
Ivan. That's Spanish. That's not Torvlovsky. That's Perez.
Ivan. He says we'll focus the offseason on signing the free agent that we like and getting the missing players, and only get a quarterback if it's Rodgers or Wilson. Out of them, we'll be the same team with Teddy. Yep, I agree with you, Ivan. I think keeping Teddy is probably more feasible than some people want. But when you really start to look at it and look at the whole season, Teddy's been a pretty good quarterback for Denver. We got Jonathan Fallick coming in here. I don't recognize the name or the picture, so welcome in, Jonathan. Thank you so much for the super chat.
And he explains in his super.
Man, I live in LA now, but I'm back in Colorado for a bit, and I'm actually up early enough to catch a bit of the show live. Well, John, thank you so much. Whether live or not, we appreciate the support. This is my favorite MHH show. Man, you're really hitting here, man. I love you for that. Thanks for all you do. Thank you so much. Hope you're enjoying LA. The good weather there. It seems to be, this is the time of year when it's nice to be in LA when it starts to get nasty everywhere else in the world. But thank you so much for joining us. And no wonder you don't catch us live in the mornings a lot of time, because that 6:30 start time can sometimes be a little bit rough. Speaking from experience.
I did a 9-year spell in LA and enjoyed my time out there. So I did my 30s, I guess.
Okay.
Right around my 30s in LA. So it was a good time. I enjoyed it out there. And it's always nice to going back to Colorado. It's always nice to get home or, a change of scenery too. So appreciate you being here, and thank you for the support for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I know we're talking a lot of Teddy Bridgewater and long-term offseason stuff here. We want to focus back on the Eagles. Haven't even talked the Eagles offense, which the Eagles offense is very interesting to me. We got Ben coming in. Let's hit this one first, and then let's go back to the Eagles offense. What do you consider reasonable for Rodgers? 2 1s, 2 2s, and a 3. Issues could play a role in availability. He's 38 and not coming off MVP season. Maybe a Sutton Adams package involved. Would be hard to trade Sutton because he's going to be a free agent. I think if Rodgers is traded, Adams could be going to the Raiders, especially now that the Raiders are out one of their top wide receivers because of, God, the horrible incident. Um, I don't want to get too much in that second sentence there, but as far as what is the trade for Rodgers, it's probably going to take 2 1s and 2 2s for him. I know it's a short window, but he's still that level of quarterback, and he's going to get after it. So the one thing I will say that makes it harder is there are going to be more teams that are able to bring in Rodgers for his contract than there were last year. Last year, the Broncos had a little bit of a grasp on everyone else because the reduced cap meant that a lot of teams couldn't bring on contracts. It's one reason the Broncos were able to get Teddy Bridgewater for so cheap, is because other teams couldn't bring on his contract at all. So
well, it was
it'll
nice
be tough.
Carolina paid for it.
Yeah, that's true. But even some teams couldn't take the, what was it, $6 million, because a lot of teams were like, we only have $1.5 million against the cap room. It's like, holy cow, you're in trouble. But
what do I consider reasonable for a team?
Yeah.
I want to I want to build and pay my guys? Half of that. I would consider half of that. Anymore, I'm not interested. Would they take a 1, a 2, and a 3? Maybe. We'll see what it is. And as far as the second issue, NFL people don't care. They don't care. You miss a game. It's that whole thing, as far as what really matters on the field and all this stuff, is a non-issue. All that stuff's just media talking head blather.
You don't think the Packers are a little bit bummed that he cost himself a game here and is out?
A game, maybe.
They should have won that one.
That's where it ends.
Yeah.
That's it. A game.
Yep.
That's not a huge detriment to his value to the Packers and to another team. It's ridiculous. Anyway,
unless he was lying to his teammates, I think that's one that could have some issues there. I mean, you got to have trust from that quarterback. And I guess shout out to Teddy Bridgewater for putting himself in a position to be available last week, because that would not have been the case otherwise. I think 2 1s and 2 2s and a 3, I would pay it. I really would for 3-4 years. You have the extra capital this season, so you could be giving up. You're talking about really the only thing you'd be giving up as far as future assets would be that one, because you could give up both 2s this year.
Okay, you got 2 free agent quarterback, you have 2 free agent wide receivers that you're counting on in Tim Patrick and Sutton. Can you bring those 2 back? Or either one of them's gone for sure, and we've talked about one of them being gone for sure anyway.
Yeah.
So do you end up losing both of them, or does one take maybe a more team-friendly deal to have a chance to come back?
Yeah, I think so. And I think also then you could get it's the Peyton Manning effect, where guys that are on their, after their big payday, their second contract, they come in because they want to get a ring. And you could get a third wide receiver for a much cheaper deal than what they get in the open market, because they want to play with Rodgers and chase a ring. So I would do that. And the only reason you are able to do that is because you built yourself up some additional currency this offseason with the Von Miller trade.
Maybe 3 years ago, going into his 38-year-old season, I wouldn't. That'd be too rich for my blood. I'd be okay. I'd be okay moving forward and taking those picks and doing something else. I'd be shopping for someone else if I had that kind of capital to spend. I wouldn't do it on a 38-year-old.
Well, we finally disagree on something, Scott. That's okay. That's great. Also, it also depends on where the Broncos are picking, because Broncos picking top 10 pick with that first round pick this year versus like 22 because they made the playoffs as a wild card. That's a massive difference in the value of that first round pick. And I don't think I think I would be okay doing that for Rodgers for 3 to 4 years. Also, he didn't really start until, what was he, 26? So maybe there's not as much wear and tear on that arm. Maybe there's not.
You're using that against Pickett. Speaking of bad,
Pickett's been playing though. I'm talking like Rodgers.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. Also, we got Todd coming in here. Happy Veterans Day, Todd. I am active Army. Thank you so much for your service, Todd. Happy Veterans Day to everybody in here. We don't got much time left. I want to talk Eagles offense. Jalen Hurts actually has been playing pretty good football this season. Not sure what the Eagles are going to do in the offseason because they have 3 picks that are looking like they're going to be top 10. Maybe they're a player for Rodgers. Maybe they're a player for Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. But Jalen Hurts has been playing pretty good football. I love how they use him in the quarterback power game. They love to go empty out the box and put a one-on-one with Jalen Hurts and a linebacker. And this is going to be a very interesting game for the Broncos linebackers, because there's a lot of screens, there's a lot of empties, there's a lot of RPOs. They really want to pick on those linebackers. So Baron Browning and Kenny Young, good game last week, good game 2 weeks ago. This is the one that it's going to be very interesting.
There's RPOs, but there's also just plain old read options. And Ethan coming back in here to getting us back on point. It's easy to start talking future and what ifs, but let's get back on point. So appreciate you on this. We are in the thick of it. 5-4, 6-4 is what we're looking at moving forward. Or even 5-5 doesn't knock you out of it. So definitely in the thick of it. And again, thank you very much. They're running plain old read options.
Yeah, they are.
Their running game isn't even RPO. That's what the guys will call it. They do run RPO, but most of it is read and run. That is their running game. So having the speed of Kenny Young and Baron Browning is a definite advantage here. And you're going to have to be disciplined in here. Jalen Hurts can be an extremely good quarterback. I'm watching him in the first half. I'm like, wow, what did his numbers finish? Ugh.
Yeah.
How does he get off to such a good start? And then they make the adjustments on there. And but he's going to beat you running the ball. Not necessarily win the game, but he's going to get his yards. He's going to finish 60, 70, 75, 80 yards. Keep him contained for sure. But this is going to be a very key game for a couple of young, no pun intended, linebackers. Kenny Young with the team, and Baron Browning just flat out young. But if maybe that plays the advantage of the college guy who's come out, who's watching read option all the time. It should be second nature to him now.
Yeah, no, and you're going to really appreciate Baron Browning's athleticism in this game, but his rawness and his ability to process, which has been inconsistent in college, and he was inconsistent in his first 2 games. That's something that could be an issue here with how all the cheese, the window dressing that the Eagles will use in the run game and spin off the pass game as well. And the Eagles, Jalen Hurts has been playing good this year, and I think that using total yards is very important for evaluating quarterbacks going forward because, Mac Jones throwing for 250 yards is not as valuable as, let's say, Justin Fields throwing for 200 and running for 100, right? That's the total yards package that matters. It's a big case for Lamar Jackson being MVP this season, or Kyler Murray. But you got to account for that. And the passing game, they don't really trust Jalen Hurts to make the hard intermediate throws. A lot of it is either the short throws, the screens, or very vertically. So if the Broncos can keep those big vertical shots from getting done, Watkins is averaging like 17 yards a catch this year. Jalen Reagor down the field. They have another deep play wide receiver that's not
Devontae Smith.
Not Devonta Smith. That's another
one. He's pretty good.
John Hightower. It's John Hightower who I was thinking of for a vertical threat. And Devonta Smith, he's their Jerry Jeudy, short guy, middle of the field kind of guy. So it'll be tough. You got to keep the big plays, and hopefully they don't kill you. The one that scares me is nothing rips my heart out more than a quarterback, 3rd and 8, tucking it and running it and getting the first down time after time again. You're doing everything right. Oh, nothing's there. I'm going to pick up the first down and keep the chains running. Absolutely kills you. And I'm scared for that one.
It's a game where the front 4 or 5. Joe, appreciate the stars coming in and the support. Thank you. I'm glad you've enjoyed the show. We have a lot of fun doing this. And your support like this makes it so we can do more. We've already added a show, so we can do more. It's going to be extremely important for the front 4 rushing. I know it's a 3-4, but typically there's 4 rushing. One of the linebackers drops off, and keeping that pocket discipline. Because you can get pressure up the middle, you can get pressure from the sides, but if you go flying by Jalen Hurts and leave an angle, he's going to hurt you, especially if you're in any kind of man coverage. That 8-yard gain, what's worse than that 8-yard gain for a first down is seeing him go for 40 because everybody's running down the field with their wide receivers. He's going to get his. He will. Yep. He's going to get his. Can they be disciplined enough to not turn the ball over and not have stupid penalties? They haven't been so far. That's why they're 3-6, because this team, again, like you said at the top, they're better than their 3-6 record. I believe that. Do they have a couple of weaknesses? Yeah. You mentioned the linebackers. The discipline, again, I think is one of those. They make a lot of mistakes that a losing team does. But if they get it all together, this is it. This can be a dangerous team. They can absolutely beat you. So time to put Dallas in the rearview mirror. It was time to do that on Monday. Yeah. And focus on the Eagles, because you lose this game, the Dallas game doesn't matter. You just blew it. Yep.
Absolutely. And I'm scared because I haven't even mentioned the Hawkeyes yet today. So everyone take a drink of your coffee. But I'm way too jaded because I feel like every time my team, my Hawkeyes, I also love the Broncos, but my Hawkeyes win a huge game, the next game they go out there and they just look absolutely freaking terrible. like just horrible. In 2017, they whip Ohio State 55-24. They go to Minnesota they go to Wisconsin the next week. They don't even cross the 50-yard line but once. This year, they beat Penn State in an amazing game. Number 3 versus number 4 in the country. And then the next week, they lose to Purdue 24-7. So I really hope that they come out and play with energy in this game and are really refocused and are not, watching the highlights from last week's game too much, feeling good about themselves, because this Eagles team, as undisciplined as they are, they fight hard. They are actually a pretty tough team.
What's the home record? Is it fairly even right now?
The Broncos?
Yeah.
I think I think they might be 1 under 500.
Okay.
I'll look it up here.
Yeah. Okay. It feels like okay, this game's at home. They're going to bring the energy. And I feel like every time I've said that, they've gotten beat.
2-2. They're 2-2 at home.
Okay,
They've lost.
Right,
they got whipped by the Raiders, and honestly, their 2 worst losses of the year. The Raiders and the Ravens. Yep.
The Ravens
game was worse, but yeah. That's that'll be interesting. The last thing I wanted to touch on here with the Eagles offense, I think their offensive line is solid. I think they're more names than they are talent right now. Lane Johnson's been up and down this season. Jason Kelsey's still a good player for them, but not as incredible as they used to be. The one, though, that I think we need to talk about has been Dallas Goedert, their tight end. They'd moved on from Zach Ertz, and Goddard has been everything you could have possibly wanted for them. He is easily a top 10 tight end, in my opinion, and he's actually a true what do you want to call 5-tool player kind of thing at the tight end position, because he is massive. He can win vertically with his size. He's maybe not, Kyle Pitts is an athlete, but he's an extension of the offensive line.
Yeah, you don't have to be. Kyle Pitts is different. That's okay. You don't have to be Kyle Pitts to be really, really good and really, really athletic.
So, and the Eagles will want to run from 11 personnel a lot. And that's going to put you in flux, because not only are your linebackers, you're going to have to probably stick in nickel or base against 11, which already is kind of scary. But you have to account for Dallas Goedert, and then on top of that, Jalen Hurts. So they really put you in and football is always, a game of chess, moves and counter moves, but they really put your linebackers in stress. So again, Kenny Young, Baron Browning, they look good the last 2 games. I'm excited about it, but this game is going to be different for them, because you have to account for that tight end, probably their best player on offense. And Devonta Smith, he's probably going to have some matchups against a linebacker in space, which is scary. And then accounting for the running back. So, man, I don't have the solution other than, execute and don't make the big mistake.
Well, I'm hoping those 2 guys aren't on the tight ends that much.
Yeah.
You want to that's when you want to see more Caden Stearns. Have a third safety come in coverage.
Stearns big enough though for Goddard, because Goddard's so physical.
Big enough. They're not. I mean, that's why they're matchup nightmares. Chip them at the line, get some pressure on there. You mentioned the offensive line. Jordan Mailata, their left tackle, good. Mm-hmm. He's good. Like I said, this is probably going to be the best trench team you face this year. I think so. Of the teams I've watched on both sides of the ball. Now, do they make mistakes in other areas? Yes. But if you let them come in and bully you in the trenches, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. But luckily, this Broncos team also wants to be a bully. And this is a game where, it's easier said than done. Broncos, you need to come out fast. You need to come out aggressive. I know that a lot of times this match quarters off zone coverage defense likes to give up a drive early on with a lot of yards. And then maybe some points early, but this is one where you need the offense to come out and score points quickly, and you need the defense to not give up points quickly, because if you can get a lead, everything else falls into place. But if you're falling back behind, 10-3, and it's halfway through the second quarter, things start to get a little dicey, and the Eagles will do exactly what you want to do, which is take the air out of the football, run it with the quarterback, minimize the possessions the rest of the game, and make it so you have to execute everyone. And my final point I wanted to get to.
That's pretty gruesome, Nick. Executing everyone.
Yeah, well, the one.
Did Stearns get put on reserve? Did I miss that?
I think Stearns. I don't think Stearns is on the reserve. Okay. I think he does have an injury, but I do not think it is. It's due to the virus. And Alberto Supplanting Fant. Hopefully, we'll see Fant come back. Hey, this is a great game for Fant, because this Eagles linebacking core is trash. So maybe Fant can finally get a big play. That'd be incredible. Get him feeling himself, because if you can get Fant rolling, then we're really talking, right? He's the one who's in the dump right now, or in the soup, as we like to say. So last final point I wanted to make. This is an Eagles team that, like I said, like the Broncos, they're going to want to take away the take the air out of the ball, minimize possessions in the game. The Broncos team needs to come away with 7, not 3. If you're driving the ball down the field with the minimum possessions that's probably going to be in this game will probably be one of the shorter ones this week. You need to come away with 7. So that's the one that I think is important. And yeah, it's Strnad. Justin Strnad went on there, and that's why Avery Williamson was brought back in.
So, all right. So you have another show Saturday. I don't. Prediction? I don't know.
Ooh.
I really don't. I feel like Denver should win this game, but every time I feel that way, they've lost. This has upset written on it. It really does. I don't want to pick it. I'm gonna go and let's see if we can use the old Kennedy jinx on this. I'm gonna go Philadelphia 24-17.
Oh man. Okay, you guys heard it here. You guys should go drop some big money on that because Scott's put the guarantee. No, Broncos are favored by 3 at this game, so they're saying that it's a push on a neutral field, right? The home team gets 3 points.
Yeah, so that's about right. I mean, like I said, we're coming off a high of feeling great about that Dallas game, but going into that, there was no chance, right? So who are you going to be? Show us.
Yep.
What team do you want to be, Denver? Please show us. I want to see it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It'll be interesting. But I think this Broncos ground game is going to get it done. I think that's the biggest advantage on the field. Like what's the one that's the reason I picked the Browns versus the Broncos. The Browns defensive line is so much better than anything the Broncos had.
Their offensive line was good. It's like they can still run the ball and none of their defenders are hurt.
Oh, Scott, I was thinking God, there's a team out there that has better trench play than the Eagles that the Broncos play.
That's right. It's the Browns.
Yeah, they're the
Browns are better in the trenches than the Eagles for sure.
Yes.
But that's not exactly, reassuring.
No,
based on how that game went.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is one, again, I think the Broncos run game versus the Eagles run defense. That's probably the biggest advantage. Eagles 24th in the NFL in EPA per play on run defense. They drop even more when you get rid of garbage time. And the Broncos this year, number 4 in EPA per play rush offense. When you take away win probability plays of less than 10% or over 90%. So strength against a weakness. I think that's the reason the Broncos will end up winning this game. The ground game is going to come
3-6 because you look at their schedule, and their last 2 games have come against good teams close.
Yep.
Chargers 24-27 at Philly. They beat the hell out of Detroit. That doesn't count. 32-33 against the Raiders. Solid. They lost to the Buccaneers by 6. And what I learned watching this, seeing them just absolutely obliterate the Falcons and the Lions, is if you're not stout up front, this team will hurt you. This team will hurt you. And that's what I'm afraid of. With this patchwork offensive line, does it hold up? Does it hold up on the OL? Does the DL hold up? All the good things we saw, again, show us. Yep. Show us you want to be the team that we saw in Dallas. Not even that team, but 90% of that team. 90% of that team's good enough to beat the Eagles.
Oh, 90% of that team's good enough to beat most teams. Absolutely. Well, guys, we'll see you again later. That's going to have to do it for Broncos for Breakfast. We'll be back Monday morning to recap the Broncos' hopeful victory over the Eagles. I don't want to jinx us. But you guys can follow Scott and myself on Twitter, Scott at Scout Kennedy, and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. Christmas is right around the corner, guys, so make sure you're getting treat yourself or your fellow Bronco fans something at huddleuppod.com to get your swag on. The coffee mug. I know we got the Breakfast Club in here, man. We need to get those coffee mug pictures in there because obviously Huddle Up Pod is the flagship program in here, but I think that we're getting our own little niche, which is pretty great. So let's keep that coming. Make sure you join us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. If you guys are on YouTube, join us by subscribing, liking, and sharing. Go to iTunes and leave us a review as well. I know that we haven't seen one. I know that the Apple Podcast, leave your football priests or your Breakfast Club buddies a review and a chance to win some merch every single month.
Breakfast Club buddies.
Yeah, there we go. Good show. We're gonna go out today with the fist bump in the air. And also go to Scott's channel, youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. We appreciate you guys so much. A lot of fun today. It's been really fun coming off of back-to-back wins now and not having to argue some of this stuff. And that's what's fun about being a fan, right? You live in the moment and you live with the ups and downs, but Broncos are going to get a chance to play some meaningful football in November and December. First time in since 2016. So let's appreciate it. And let me see. Iowa, Minnesota prediction. I think Iowa's going to win. What was that? Pain? I mean, it's
every time I hear a prediction, I have Clubber Lang saying pain.
There we go. I think Iowa's going to win this game. I really do. I think Kirk Ferentz has PJ Fleck's number. So I think Iowa's going to win this one. It'll probably be ugly. It'll probably be like 20-13. But thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. Everyone have a good day. Happy Veterans Day to everyone who served or family members who served and everything like that. Malcolm coming in. Thanks for a good show. Thank you for joining us today, Malcolm. We appreciate you. Have fun. Be safe. Enjoy football tonight. The Broncos are going to be there in watching the game. It's a quarterback battle tonight. Denver is going to be there with Kenny Pickett versus Sam Howell. So maybe tune into that instead of the Ravens versus the Dolphins, which should be an absolute just nasty snooze fest, unless you're pulling for the Ravens. But UNC versus Pittsburgh might be a game to tune into if you have some time tonight, guys. So enjoy yourself. Go Broncos.